Hello guys, and welcome to the third episode of Game Linked, and today I will be on my own, so I don't have the host kind of thing up right now. But there we go, I've prepared a nice presentation as last time for you guys. And yeah, let's begin with Game Linked, game news of the week. Today we'll be talking about several topics. So the first topic is going to be about Discord revealing the first 7 exclusive launches on its store. Then we will be talking about Fallout 76, the beta, and when it's going to come out in October for pre-order customers. And we'll also kind of talk about the new Vader game, or I'm not quite sure if it's a series or a game, but we'll see that also in a video. So we will be talking about the Vader Immortal VR series being produced. Then we'll look at the fact that Xbox is getting mouse and keyboard support next month. The fifth thing that we're going to talk about today is NVIDIA drivers that are currently being pushed or have already been pushed to graphics cards, and the effective optimizations that they yield for users. And the last topic is all the major game studios that have closed in the past year, so pretty much all the game studios that have suffered through going down bankrupt. So yeah, first topic today, Discord reveals the first 7 exclusive launches on its store. Since I'm going to do this on my own, I'm partially going to rely on what people write in the comments. So if you guys want to ask anything or talk about something specific, you can easily write that into the comments, and I'll try to mention it. I kind of have to put up a feed somehow because I'm currently running my monitor in a different setup as it's usually. So this is already again a different setup as last week. I'm constantly kind of evolving the show so that it more fits to the kind of demands that the people have that watch it. So if you've got any kind of ideas or things that we could do better in our show, then tell us. And why Stephen isn't here today, I can explain that. So Stephen isn't here today in the show, or he won't be co-hosting the show today, is because he is currently sick and he didn't really feel up to the job. So I was just thinking to myself, I'll do the show on my own, since it seems to work out anyway. But Steven should be around next week, I hope so, as long as he's not that sick. So yeah, let's talk about the games that we're hopefully going to see in the Discord store. And I'm sorry if I kind of have to tab out sometimes or kind of have to go out of the presentation again. That's just because of the fact that I have to look at other stuff, and I currently don't have the multi-monitor setup working due to my graphics card. My RTX 2080 still not arriving, or 2080 Ti, let's call it that, because the 2080s have already arrived. So yeah, as you can see, there's quite a lot of games in the store. One of them is Dead Cell, which is kind of a castle roguelike action platformer. Most of these games are probably unfamiliar to the most people. I think they are more of those kind of 2D and RPG style of games from what I'm seeing. And they aren't such extremely big 3D FPS shooter titles that you would normally see in Steam. If it's going to... The question is if it's really going to have an influence on Steam. I don't think it's really going to influence Steam in such a way that that's going to make it obsolete. I think it's a good thing that Discord is starting to partake in this kind of market thing where you have multiple game launchers and markets where you can buy games, in that kind of sense, online stores for games. I think that's a good thing that Discord is also taking the leap, because Discord is a very big platform. I think it's one of the biggest platforms that, in terms of growth, it has grown extremely. And we also use Discord as our server, so if you want to join us, I think there should be a link somewhere, or there should be a logo on our Twitch, on our Discord server. And it's a pretty big platform, so it should kind of be growing with the fact that there's so many users. The store shouldn't really have problems building up the kind of stuff that Origin or Steam had to go through. This store won't really have that trouble. They have an easier and a lot bigger audience to address in a lot easier way, I think, because they can just directly push the games to the same launcher, which pretty much every gamer sees every day because they communicate through it, and they always want to stay up to date and on the game stuff. And usually servers have notifications pushed on that. So I think it's a really good move that you actually get the opportunity to buy games from a fourth kind of provider, because I know there's Origin, Steam, and Ubisoft, and Battle.net, and I think that's kind of it might influence the market essentially, but their growth should be a lot easier it should be a lot easier for them to grow in general compared to their competition. They should have a lot easier time in growing because they already have a huge audience, and all they need to do is kind of push the button, push the store towards them, and get some really cool games into the store, which people want to play, and make them kind of. I think they should work on exclusives, because it's already in the title. They do work on exclusives, which makes the most sense, because it kind of makes your store the most unique. It allows you to kind of be the only store that provides a certain game, and I think that has a very strong drawing factor towards your store. So yeah, this is kind of what it will look like. I'm just quickly going to check the chat, since I need to adjust one or two settings, and I'm a bit mal-organized in that kind of sense. So I'm quickly going to do that in a second. I just quickly wanted to edit the title. Yeah, usually I wouldn't be doing this, but that's just kind of what happened. There we go. Okay, so let's quickly fix this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm constantly checking the chat this time. That's what we kind of didn't do last time. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good move by Discord. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I really like to see companies like Discord. I forgot which company they're owned by. It's something called Hammer. I forgot. But I really like to see companies like Discord or projects like Discord grow over the years and kind of be part of this movement. I've been on Discord since 2016, early 2016, and it's been such a big development over these 2 years, and it's already been, I think, when I joined, it was already around for at least 1 or 2 years, and it's just interesting to see how such a client could grow to such a big thing. Because back when I was looking at it, it was the only kind of channel, or the reason why I started to look at Discord was because of the fact that LTT kind of featured it in a comparison video with TeamSpeak and the other client. I forgot its name. I think it's Mumble, the other client, which you can use for the gaming clients for communication. And with Skype, I think they also compared it with that. And Discord kind of stood out. It was always this really kind of feature-focused client, and it was also simple. It was nice, simple. It always worked, and I kind of like to see how things develop over time. So I think Discord is really doing the right thing here. They're moving towards the right direction in terms of dealing with selling games on a market. And I think a lot of people will be interested in seeing this also in the future. as the game library hopefully grows as I make sales. But I think it has to do a lot with the Nitro people, the people that pay this kind of novelty, let's call it that, novelty kind of monthly submission to some of Discord's features. I think they kind of also helped Discord grow. Besides the fact that Discord, personally, I think they sell data to make the money. It's probably not even an I think, it's probably that way. But it helped them grow, and I think it's a really nice thing that Discord has all of these really cool features, and it might end up in some kind of like universal tool for most games, for communication and whatnot. So I think that's a good direction for Discord to go to, and they're probably not doing anything wrong with that. So yeah, let's continue to the next topic. Since I don't have that much like people saying stuff, or at least I didn't see anything so far in Twitch, I think I'm just gonna continue, and we'll see how long this episode will be, because yeah, I don't have a co-host today, so I kind of have to talk with myself and argue with myself in my kind of way. Oh, is this gonna load? Why didn't this load? Okay, wait. Now it loads, okay. So, Fallout 76. The open beta will be coming out at the end of October, and I think the game looks pretty cool. And what we usually talk about, me and Steven, in terms of these kind of new releases, is if we want to buy them. I am personally not too sure if I'm actually going to buy Fallout 76. It's not such a great looking game. I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't very happy with Fallout 4. My kind of personal problem is, I mean, you do these kind of quests and you go through this whole game, and what you essentially end up with is just kind of time, a lot of time that goes into all of this quest doing and all of this like one-on-one kind of battles with these bosses. I think over time this kind of gets boring, because it feels like you're always doing the same thing, and I don't know if Fallout 76 will actually be able to sorry, to kind of incorporate something that is more interesting than what the Fallout franchise has brought so far. I kind of feel like it's not really giving that, I don't know, it's not such a game that I could play for a very extended period of time. And I think a lot of people would agree with me on that kind of perspective, that it's kind of difficult to play Fallout and kind of these types of games for an extended period of time, since the people, since the quests, they are, yeah, very similar. And also, I don't know, I kind of have the impression that pretty much all of the Fallouts, since they are in the sequel kind of manner and fashion, that they are almost the same. They kind of keep playing the same game and it kind of gets rehashed all the time. So I'm not really sure how great this game really will be. I think that's supposed to go back a bit into the past to Fallout, but yeah, I'm not too sure how much it will be interesting to me to look at. So I'm probably not gonna buy it. I don't know if I can recommend it, probably not, just because of the fact that the Fallout franchise isn't that interesting in general, in my opinion. I mean, there's probably some kind of fanboy that would tell me I'm horribly wrong, but then again, they're a fanboy. So I wouldn't really buy a Fallout 76 if because I personally don't feel motivated to play games like this. And I think you shouldn't too. You should probably go ahead with games that kind of try to surprise you, try to bring out new things, and try to kind of gain your interest. And I don't think Fallout will be able to do this. So that's it for kind of what my opinion on Fallout is, since it kind of doesn't really work out in my opinion for everyone to play this game. Especially not for me, so I wouldn't recommend it. Depends on your opinion. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk around the whole thing for a longer time. I'm gonna go to the next topic, and that's just because of the fact that I'm not getting that many, or not getting really responses on this. So I'm not going to go into any further discussion in terms of that. So yeah, new Star Wars VR game, Vader Immortal, it's kind of called. It's developed by Oculus and this other studio. They have a really weird name. And the game looks pretty cool. I must admit, it doesn't look bad, but I'm not sure if I would personally. I would probably get it, but the thing is, you'll still need to get, because it's a VR game, you will need to get obviously your kind of VR headset. But I think it could be a very unique experience to all those fans who really love Star Wars. I'm not kind of sure what that is. Maybe you can kind of sword fight or like a lightsaber fight with Darth Vader. I'm not sure what they are trying to do, but I think it's a really good thing that they are continuing with other games besides Battlefront, because Battlefront wasn't such a great game. Neither one, neither two. It was a good game or a mediocre game in my opinion. There is better games. These games are lacking content. They just don't. I kind of feel like what happens nowadays is that most of these games or even movies, they're kind of put there on a sloppy kind of. They want to promise so many things. Excuse me for that. And they can't. They just can't deliver, mostly, and also. They try to be very visually appealing, which I get is it's okay. It's okay to try to use the modern technologies that you have at your hand to make things look even cooler than they are. But the problem with that is they invest a lot into the way the game looks and the way the movie looks, instead of investing in the story, instead of giving it more time, thinking about something that will actually catch that target audience's appeal, that will kind of get them to think that, wow, this is something that I can emotionally understand, that I feel passionate about, that I think is an interesting thing to look at. And I think that's mostly what, today's movies and game studios kind of seem to fail in terms of their portrayal of characters, flat characters, straight up, not enough, too many characters. Even the scope is too wide sometimes with the characters. You just don't focus on one character. It's better to focus on one character instead of focusing on multiple characters and then failing across all of them. So I think that's really kind of what I can say about it. I've also been following Star Wars Theory. I don't know if you know that guy. Probably most of the audience doesn't. It's probably for most of the people who love Star Wars way beyond normal, or just go beyond, beyond watching or liking the movie, just loving Star Wars. It's a channel who goes on about theories in Star Wars, and it kind of interprets Star Wars, which I think is okay. It's their thing. I don't really mind that. But the cool thing is that they are currently developing, or the guy behind Star Wars Theory, he's making his own Vader fan film, and I think that film could be extremely cool. It could really be something people want to watch, because it is a fact that a lot of people didn't get to see enough of Vader in the movies. Everyone wanted to see more of Vader, wanted to find out more of Vader, and since we know the origins from the prequels, I think it's a really cool idea as well to develop this kind of VR series that, this Vader Immortal VR series that is going to be published sometime. I'm not quite sure when it's going to be published, but soonish. And I think it's a good thing to go into characters that haven't been elaborated enough, or that you can see the interest is enormous to kind of getting more of them, because they're so cool characters in their kind of ways and behaviors. And I think that's what makes movies very interesting to people, because they get unique characters, really good storyline, touching storylines, and just something that is memorable. And that's the problem with nowadays movies and TV shows and games. Sometimes the story just feels like it's just bashed on the table, and there was no deeper thinking or kind of a plot twist put into the story that could intrigue the audience in the kind of sense that they usually would, what we kind of expect when we go and watch a movie and buy our tickets. So yeah, I think it will probably be a very good game, or not even a game. It's more a VR experience than a game, because I don't think you can play, but it's just more watching VR kind of Netflix style episodes. So I think it will be a pretty cool concept to have, and I think it's very pioneering in that kind of sense that it's the first kind of VR series from a really big company, from Disney or LucasArts. They're both the same thing, actually. That this is coming is a big thing for VR, and I think it makes sense to have this done with Star Wars, since the fan base is huge, and you can kind of get an instant opinion, because there's also a lot of people seeking to try this new thing, VR. They have a big audience. So yeah, I think it's a good idea having this, and I'll move on to the next episode. Next slide. And yeah, we'll see what's on there. So we have Xbox One is getting mouse and keyboard support next month. I think that's very interesting, because so far the Xbox One, as far as I know, by itself without any additional interfaces, wasn't able to support mouse and keyboard. And I think that makes sense, because personally I think it does give you an unfair advantage over console gamers who have to use joysticks and controllers. I personally don't feel tempted using those, because I can get the people who want to play on the Xbox with the mouse and keyboard. I think Microsoft is trying to get more people to moving towards the Xbox platform by making this move. But in general, I don't think a lot of people will actually take advantage of this. Mostly people that already have the console laying around might take advantage of this, because they just know keyboard and mouse aiming is a lot more accurate compared to joystick aiming, which needs auto aim and whatnot to actually be somewhat accurate. I think that's kind of a critique point by them doing this, but I think it makes a lot of sense for what they're kind of trying to achieve with expanding their market, or the amount of people that even use the Xbox One. And I think they kind of always try to overtake Sony with some of the features they have. And I think it's a good thing. And why not do that and turn the Xbox One into a PC? I think Razer will also be launching peripherals towards the Xbox. I'm not sure if it will be exclusive to Razer products only. I hope it won't. But I think it won't. It's just that Xbox is probably advertising it with the help of Razer, and Razer will have products specifically catered towards an audience who wants to play with their keyboard on the Xbox One. But yeah, I don't think this is a feature that everyone was really hoping to see. It's really cool. It's out there, or will be out there, but it's not really something that everyone desperately was calling for, since we've got PCs and we don't need the Xbox One to act as a PC. But I can imagine it being a nice thing, since you can have a portable, cheap kind of PC in that sense for gaming, and you can take that around if you're traveling, and you don't really need to have a bulkier computer with you. You could still build a tiny PC with a lot better hardware than the Xbox One. But then again, I think the biggest criteria for buying the Xbox One is probably the cost effectiveness. You get a good console, a pretty good console, which now supports keyboard and mouse. So you're getting pretty close to what a PC would be, and you probably get the Xbox experience a lot cheaper than what you would get on a PC, or maybe even equivalent to a PC. I'm not sure about that. I think usually Xbox is slightly cheaper, but then again lacks some slight features that obviously a PC would have, and that kind of price range. So yeah, let's continue with the next topic. We've been through 3 topics so far, or is it 4? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, let's go to the next slide. So yeah, NVIDIA driver boasts optimization improvements. So NVIDIA, oh god, that topic is so annoying to me. NVIDIA. And their company have been doing so many bad things right now. I can't even say. It's just personally, I'm so annoyed with them. I'm still waiting for my 2080 Ti, and it still hasn't arrived. It's been delayed by a week, and it's been 2 days since, no, even 3 days since it should have been available on the market, and it's still not available. I mean, can you explain that to me? This just doesn't make sense in my kind of perspective. But yeah, let's talk about the drivers first, and then I can elaborate on my rage on this kind of topic. So yeah, NVIDIA drivers have some kind of optimization improvements that they will be bringing up, and these improvements, or stuff that they did, is it's not very significant for everyone. It mainly has to do with the power consumption of the card, because the card apparently will be consuming around 25 watts when it's in idle, and that seems to be an extremely big amount of watts, and it's not normal, so they kind of tweaked it down to 13 watts on idle. So yeah, the games and the idle state are kind of more the same. That they are actually more different, because previously they were very similar. So if the card was running in idle, it will be similar to when it was under loading games in terms of power consumption. And they kind of wanted to fix this because that is essentially not that amount of power is essentially not needed when you're just doing basic tasks in Windows. So yeah, I think that explains kind of what they did with the newest driver. I'm annoyed. I'm personally annoyed with all these dates, because I've been waiting for this for a long time and it still isn't here. I've ordered it August 21, so I've been with the first people that ordered it. As soon as I could order it from my retailer here in Switzerland, I just ordered it, and it still hasn't arrived. And I don't know why. I think it's because there's a lot of pre-orders, and NVIDIA can't really hold up with the amount of people that need this card or want this card, just because of the hype. And I'm personally annoyed about that, because I am a person who desperately needs this card, and other people that have a 1080 Ti just upgrading to this card just like it's nothing. And that's not fair. I mean, I'm running on a 770. Why the hell do you need to upgrade from pretty much a brand new card to an even newer card? I mean, and the difference isn't that great. You must be stupid to make this kind of leap. And I already said that last week when we were talking to Steven. Why would you buy a card that's ever so slightly better, 30% better than your current card, that you already spent an enormous amount of money on, some of you probably $1,000, just because you want to have the newest thing and the best thing? You can go with that, but that kind of market, that kind of mindset is not good. You're literally eating everything that Nvidia is shoving in your mouth, even if it's shit. And I think it makes the most sense to upgrade if you're with the 7, 8. I don't think there's an 8. Is there an 8 series? I've never heard of an 8 series card, but 7 or 9, maybe an 8 series card if you got that. It makes the most sense to upgrade with those generations and anything that's below. Absolutely. I get it. If you guys want to upgrade, it makes sense. It's been 4 years for you or even more, and you want to have the newest thing. And your games are going slow, you can't record and stuff, and that's what I'm having. I can't record games. I'm literally having 15 FPS in OBS. It's just useless to me. So running it this kind of way with a new graphics card would be awesome, and I'm hoping that I'll get it next week. I'll mention it in the next live stream, and I kept saying that already for several times now, just because of the delay. Next live stream, and it never arrived so far. So I hope next week will be the official time when it will arrive. I'll be very happy because I can finally properly game with my super ultra wide monitor, which I currently can't because I have to have a smaller resolution, 1080p, so that I can actually play with my card, because my card just it can't handle 3000 how much is it? 3,200 or I don't know off by heart. I think it's 3,280 or something like that. In width, it can't handle that with 60 hertz. And don't even ask me to run it in 144 hertz. It won't work. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I've been roasting about Nvidia for long enough. I think we're getting to the last topic. And we're probably going to conclude today's Game Link a bit earlier. That's just because of the fact, that I don't have a co-host, so I don't really have that much stuff to kind of think about, to talk about. So let's go on to the next topic. So, all major game studios that have closed in the past year, and there's been so many. There's been a lot. So, Motiga, I didn't know Motiga. They are apparently creators of Gigantic. I don't even know what that is. What that kind of game is. I don't really move in those kind of spheres of gaming, if you want to call it that. Then there's Visceral. Visceral is a lot bigger company, a lot more important, in my opinion, obviously. And let me explain. So Visceral are the creators of Dead Space, Battlefield Hardline, and an unreleased Star Wars project, which I was really hoping to see, because I was kind of hoping to see something that is going to be like Force Unleashed. One of the best games, in my opinions, that I've played so far. The story was so good in both of them. Second one was a bit worse than the first one, but they were both genuinely pretty good games that I've even played 1 or 2 years ago. Again, just because they were so much fun back in the day. Those are great games. I think it's really worth checking them out. Dead Space I've also played 4 years ago. It was an interesting game. I had it for free. Battlefield Hardline. I think the problem with this kind of game studio with Visceral is that they have been less successful. And I think that trend kind of continues within all of these game studios, that their games have been less successful in capturing their audiences, giving the audiences essentially what they need. One of the recent game studios that has closed is Telltale Games, and I think most people know that by now, since PewDiePie has even been reporting on this since he was very upset about it. Because several games that he played there were from Telltale Games on his channel. And I get it. What he was saying, and I think his explanation of why it didn't work out for Telltale is pretty reasonable. And being that Telltale just they produced a lot of games on a factory line, pretty much. They're putting out games constantly. But the problem was they had a lot of games. The quantity was good, but the quality was bad. And personally, I think game studios should always focus on quality first instead of producing multiple games. Because obviously you want to have a lot of people that love your games, so that always the new upcoming games are just enjoying the same hype than the previous ones had. And that's what Telltale kind of went wrong with. They had this kind of it works or it doesn't work kind of approach to it. The games didn't... They had a lot of games, but the games were qualitatively not that great. Now, Boss Key Production, never heard of them. Apparently creators of Lawbreakers and Radical Heights. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of Radical Heights. They had 60 employees at their peak. So they haven't been such an extremely big game studio as Telltale or Visceral or Capcom. So yeah, nothing too special. I can't really say anything about that. Then there's Runic, which were the creators of Torchlight and Hob. No idea what those games are. Carbine, creator of Wildstar. The Violet Jones Supernatural Detective Agency. That's a crazy name for a game studio. I think that's pretty cool to think about such creative names, even though they're a bit too long. TBJ SDA, the Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency. They were the creators of Dawn to Death and an unannounced project which was also cancelled. I'd actually be interested to see what Visceral did with the Star Wars project, just to see what they kind of started doing it. I've seen the trailer for it and it seemed very promising, but it's kind of sad that it just went lost in all of the failure, let's put it that way. Wargaming Seattle. Oh, Wargaming is actually a pretty big company. Creator of Supreme Commander, Dungeon Siege. I think I know Dungeon Siege. Approximately 150 employees. Wargaming is the guys that are behind warships and war tanks. These kind of immersive games, I would say, and kind of simulators almost for different types of vehicles and environments. And they make pretty cool games. I really like Warships. I haven't played it for a long time, but it's a nice strategic game, which I think a lot of people should try. But then again, I think Supreme Commander and Dungeon Siege probably weren't those the bangers on the market, let's put it that way. And that's probably why it didn't really work out for most of the people. Capcom Vancouver. So they were the creators of Dead Rising, which I've also never heard of. They had 158 employees, which is quite a lot. So that's quite sad, but it's kind of a trend that it's moving on. There are a lot of game studios are saying goodbye right now, since they can't hold up. The competition is too big, and the games are too important to be good or rushed. So yeah, they have several notable games. Big Fish Games they owned. What? CCP the Oz Division. Then they have Harmonix Hangar 13, which belongs to Mafia 3, is somehow related to Mafia 3. Oh yeah, that's the studio behind Mafia 3, okay. And then there's Robot Entertainment and Volition. And Volition is a company that I've known from other games, and they make pretty good games, but it's pretty sad that this happened. And the good thing is though that the several companies are helping each other out. So EA, DICE, and I'm not quite sure which other companies. Probably Activision, and I don't know which companies. They're offering some new jobs for people who have been let down by their companies, and they're officially recruiting people and helping out their fellow game designers, game creators. And I think that's a really good thing that this kind of community holds together. It sets a really good light on the PC gaming and generally the gaming industry. And I think it's a good thing that these companies work together. It's always important to work together in times of need. And yeah, I think I'm gonna conclude the episode. This shorter episode, I think it's been 40 minutes now, around about 40 minutes, if not more. So yeah guys, thank you for watching Game Linked this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry for the first kind of failed live stream. I had to optimize some settings with Streamlabs OBS, which I use now as a new streaming software. And if you've got any kind of suggestions that you want to voice, just voice them. Tell me what you want to have better in these live streams, improvements. If there's any music suggestions you have, they must be copyright free. You can put them into the comments below the video, or even in the stream comments. I would be very happy to see you guys commenting. And yeah, see you next week, probably with Steven on board too. So yeah, if you've got the time, you like the show, go and check it out. And yeah, see you guys next time.